In an interview with Major Nelson, Phil Spencer talks Xbox Series X supply issues and the bright future that they have with first-person shooters and RPG games once the Bethesda deal officially goes through. Welcome everybody and thank you for joining me. So Phil Spencer had an interview with Major Nelson where they spoke about a bunch of interesting things. Now there is a lot to unpack here, and although I want to go over everything in this interview, I'm just going to cover the things that I think was the most interesting, at least for me, and that would be Xcloud, the supply issues that they've recently been dealing with, and of course the Bethesda deal. So we will start off with Xcloud because I think this is going to be the most interesting part over the next 5 to 10 years. So I hope you will indulge me for a few minutes as I go off on a bit of a rant regarding this service, because I have quite a few strong opinions and predictions regarding Xcloud. Now I think there will be a drastic shift in the way we play games should this service actually take off, and I have heard lots of people say that this might be the last generation that Xbox actually produces consoles, and honestly I would hate to see that happen, but if Xcloud really does take off, that might be true. With Xcloud you can already play hundreds of Xbox games on your phone, and soon you will be able to play it on your TV as well. Xbox has stated that they are looking to get an Xbox TV app in 2021, and that will make it possible for you to stream your games without a console on your TV. Now we have already seen people using Xcloud to stream games on a bunch of smart devices, even a refrigerator if you believe it or not. So TVs will be the next logical step. Again, this is something that was already announced by Xbox, so this is my hot take, and I really do hope that I'm dead wrong about this. I think if game streaming takes off, consoles will become just like DVD or Blu-ray players. We used to have this box underneath our TVs that we used to watch movies. A new movie comes out, we wait for the DVD or the Blu-ray release, we buy the disc and we watch the movie using those movie players. Then movie streaming took off, and now nobody buys a DVD or Blu-ray player anymore. Why would you do that if you can just press a button on your remote and Netflix or Hulu or Amazon Prime pops up? Those pieces of hardware has become completely absolute and unnecessary for movie streaming, and I think if game streaming takes off, there will be no reason for you to buy a console anymore. Why would you need a box underneath your TV to play a game if you can just press a button on your smart TV and start streaming a game? There would be no reason for you to buy it, and there will be no reason for Xbox and for PlayStation to produce it. And I'm sure that most people already knows this, but both Xbox and PlayStation sells their consoles at a loss. They do this to gain market share because they know that they can take a hit on the hardware because they will make their money back with the software. The real money comes in when you turn on your console and you buy the games and you subscribe to PlayStation Now and Xbox Live and Game Pass. That is a common business practice that most of these hardware producers follow. Apple is not a $2 trillion company because of all of the iPhones that they sell. They make their money when you go home and you boot up your phone and you sign on to the App Store, and consoles is no different. This is not something that I would really like to see happen, it's just something that I think will happen, the same way I think physical game discs will eventually disappear, and that is not something that I really care about too much because I buy all of my games online. But I have heard people explain why they like to buy games in the store. Just the excitement of going to the store and picking up a game, collecting them and displaying them on your shelf, the exciting and the beautiful art covers. I do understand why people don't want that to go away. I feel the exact same excitement with consoles and that traditional console model, and I don't want that to go away, but I think with game streaming it might. So we can either accept it or kick and cry and scream about it. I choose to kick and cry and scream because I enjoy buying consoles, but the more mature people might just accept the inevitable digital future. But that is just my hot take on the future of game streaming that I pray to God I'm dead wrong about. But now that I'm done ranting about that, let's just go on to the actual interview. So during the interview with Major Nelson discussing the success of Xbox Game Pass and Xcloud, Phil Spencer noted that they have been working on all of this for over 5 years, and he then explained that they continue to think that far ahead in the future for new ideas as well. He said, what are the things that are coming in next year? I think about that as Horizon Zero, and I think about Horizon 1 of being 2 to 3 years out, and we kind of know what those things are and what is on the roadmap. And then you have those ideas that are like 3 to 10 years out, and most of those won't work. Those kind of investments that you're putting in, backwards compatibility was one of those things of, hey, let's let's just try something that probably won't work, but we want to give it a try. And there is some of those things that I'm incredibly excited about, and hopefully over the next year or two we will be able to talk about. Then he goes on to say, our job running Xbox is to be in the moment and thinking about the roadmap ahead, but also be experimenting with some things that have the potential to be real game changers, but also are high risk filled and technology filled. Some cool things are on the horizon there as well, and it's just an incredibly exciting time on the teams right now. And then Phil Spencer also talks about the supply problems that Xbox has been dealing with. He said, we got the console launch and we wish we had more of them, we are selling them out too quickly. And he continued, some people are saying, why didn't you build more, why didn't you start earlier, why didn't you ship them earlier? I mean, all of those things, and it really just comes down to the physics and engineering. We are not holding them back, we are building them as fast as we can, and we have all of the assembly lines going. And then he also talks about the Bethesda deal, and it does look like they have quite a few big plans for this purchase. He said 2021 is going to be when they get the final approval. I feel really good about that. Spencer said everything is on track. We'll start to really get into some of the planning that we can do with them. Right now we're really hands off with them as they continue to do the work that they're doing because we do not own them yet. He then goes on to say, I think about the RPG capability with Obsidian and in Exile, and with what Playground is doing, which is now out there with Fable obviously, and then with what Bethesda can do, its massive capability. I think about the first person shooter capability, ID, and obviously free for free, and the work we can do. It's double the size of our first party studios when Bethesda joins, which is pretty amazing to think about. So based on that, with all of those massive studios focusing on first person shooters and RPG games, they will be a massive force in the space. But that pretty much sums up all of the highlights that I thought was the most important parts of the interview. So on that note, this is where I'm going to end it. So if you enjoyed this video, be sure to hit that like button. If you would like to see more videos like this, please consider subscribing, and as always, please remember to stay safe, wash your hands, don't touch your face, and I hope to see you again soon.